Hey, I'm Jesse. I hope you're having a great post-Christmas week, getting ready for New Year. I hope that you're brushing up on the book of 1 Corinthians too, because that's what's coming up next. Let's go to Luke chapter 2. We're covering the events that took place after Jesus' birth. We've met Simeon, now meet Anna. There was also a prophetess, Anna, a daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She was well along in years, having lived with her husband 7 years after her marriage, and was a widow for 84 years. She did not leave the temple, serving God night and day with fasting and prayers. At that very moment, she came up and began to thank God and speak about him to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. We have this idea for retirement, and even like our Social Security system, which, if it works out, will be a mathematical miracle, by the way. We have this idea that when you hit like 65, you're just done. Okay, like at 65 years old, it's time to go cruise. You know, like when I'm 65, I think retirement homes will be filled with people like playing Xbox and watching The Office over and over again. And I think about our American notion, particularly the American notion. When you hit 65, you're done. And you've worked your whole life in a job that you may not like, but you've been saving. And by that time, you know, if you bought a house around 30 or so, 35, guess what? It should be paid off. So then you retire with a paid off house, and you have this income that you hopefully saved yourself. If you save it yourself, it's gonna be worth a lot more than if the government gives it to you. And then you retire, and then you just chill. And like you have a beach house and you have a boat, and you just spend your day collecting seashells. You spend your day roaming the mountains in the snow and taking selfies, and then eventually you just die with a big giant smile on your face and a big huge gut full of fat accumulated through the most delicious foods that you could accrue in your last, I don't know, couple decades of hedonism. Like that's like the American way of viewing things. That is totally foreign to the biblical text. These people are used of God. They are well along in years. Simeon and Anna are just there in the temple for 84 years. Anna has been a widow who has been fasting and praying. Anna's probably pretty skinny because she just fasts and prays. Like that's her ministry. A ministry of fasting and prayer. And for 84 years, she's just been waiting for God to work. She's a prophetess. We've seen the title of prophetess given as well to Philip's daughters in Acts chapter 21, verses 8 and 9. It means that like God speaks through her. Now the office of pastor is different from this station of prophet. But God spoke through Philip's daughters. Philip's an incredible man of God. You meet him in Acts chapter 8. And now here's Anna. And this is her story's fulfillment. This is her prophetic ministry. She's of the tribe of Asher, which is really cool. Asher means blessed. And it's kind of cool because even Asher's birth, the original Asher, like he's born in such a way that it's a fulfillment of a long-awaited birth, and he's a blessed child. I mean, like when our Asher was born, he was 4 pounds of fury, man. You could just hold him in one hand. He was very premature, very little. He looked kind of like Voldemort. All right, premature babies, they got their own kind of cuteness. And when they're in the NICU, man, they just feed them. And little preemie babies, when they get out of the NICU, they just keep on eating because like they gotta eat. They're eating to survive in a way that other babies aren't, and they just keep on eating. And so little Asher, my dad used to call him little butterball because his cheeks were like this and his bright blue eyes. And man, he looked like a blessed child. When you hear the name Asher, I want you to think about that. And those of you, if you're my friends and family from Orlando and Windermere, we love you guys. You remember what I'm talking about. You remember how Asher was a little tiny preemie, but he wasn't little for long. This name Asher means blessed, and it goes back to the very origin story. You also have the story of Hannah, all right, who is pleading with God to be allowed to become a mother, just like Elizabeth was. As within their culture, there's a lot of shame around women who couldn't have children. And so Hannah is just weeping before God, and the priest thinks that she's drunk, but it's not that. She's just broken, and she wants to have a baby more than anything. And then this is the story of the prophet Samuel, that Phanuel would have a daughter named Anna, of the tribe of Asher, links Anna to the story of Hannah. It links Anna to the story of the whole tribe of Asher and its namesake. And she's married, but then everything goes wrong. Like she was married, she was with her husband, and then her husband dies. And it looks like that's the end, right? Okay, God, I guess God's just done with this woman. And for decades, she serves God night and day with fasting and with prayers. And now at this moment, she comes up and she begins to thank God and speak about him to everyone who is looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. She gets to see Jesus. God's not done with you when you turn 65. God wasn't done with Abraham when he was 99. God was not done with Moses until he was past 100. God's not done with you. We have this American concept that when we hit 65, like we just live like hedonists forever, I guess. Like, no, that's when some people's ministry in the Bible's like began. Okay, like Anna's ministry was on a fasting and prayer for 84 years before she met the Messiah. And now here she is. Her story is in the text. And you can see this fulfillment of something that was foreshadowed in the story of Hannah and Samuel and the tribe of Asher. It's all fulfilled right here in this beautiful praying widow. What an incredible ministry. Charles Spurgeon said that he was convinced that the reason that God used his ministry so mightily was that his church was praying for him. He had a lot of Annas in his church, those mighty women of God who just go before the throne and pray warfare prayers, and they fast and they pray. My mother is one of those for me. What's up, little mom? I love you. I know that we've got some Annas in the Redemption Church, and we need you. We need you. We need you. Your ministry may not be musical. In fact, if you're not musically gifted, please don't sign up to serve in worship ministry. Okay, you may not be gifted cook. If that's the case, please don't sign up to serve in the Holy Smokers. But if you can fast and pray, you're going to see Jesus. And it's not just those of you who are younger. Anna's ministry zenith happens after 84 years of fasting and praying. Would you take a moment to check to see if you are reading an American dream ideal of retiring at 65 and then just living like a fat hedonist the rest of your life against the biblical model, wherein sometimes the ministry doesn't begin until 8.5 decades later? That's the story of Hannah.